Yours truly, the infamous DJ Rob313, known as the Remake Guru. In today's tutorial, I'm actually mixing down a beat that I produced and basically how I mix down a tracked out beat, okay? Whether if it's trap, rock, R&B, neo soul, whatever, you name it. The most important thing about getting the best out of your beats and making your instrumentals more, appealing to people if you're trying to sell instrumentals, if you're trying to market them for advertisement or promotion, or if you're trying to get placement for them, you have to have high quality instrumentals that actually can compete. It have to compete with other people in this genre, whatever type of genre that you in. But I know in hip hop, R&B is super saturated. So, everybody is making beats. So you have to do whatever it takes to separate yourself from the masses to stand out. And quality always over quantity. So make sure that you considering that if you're a producer or upcoming producer, all right, or composer. That's all you are. You know what I'm saying? A composer is a person that writes music, that produces music. That's what a composer is. All right. So the first thing that I like to do to any instrumental, if I'm mixing it, mastering it for a client or for myself, if I produced it or if someone else produced it, I take the same steps. I might use different plugins. I might use different hardware equipment, different rack equipment, different outboard gear. However, these same rules of thumb still apply, even though there's no rules to this shit for real. But we have to consider that there are some rules, some key rule of thumb, all right, that we have to consider. First things first is gain staging. And when I talk about gain staging, that means you have to get all of your tracks at a healthy signal coming in to your DAW system. All right. And if you do not get a healthy signal coming into your DAW system, you're going to have problems to begin with. So you're not putting your best foot forward. All right. All of these audio clips or audio files, WAV files that you're looking at right now is basically, the tracked out or the stems of my melody. All right. As you can see clearly that they say Triton, Juno, Integra, so these are from hardware synths, except for the bass line that I use, the synth bass that I use. It was from a VST in Pro Tools. It say modernized, but it's not that. I actually changed the plug-in that was there. All right. So I'm saying all that to say this. I put my best foot forward just off using hardware synths because it gives you a bigger sound, a more lush sound, a more fuller sound, and richer sound to begin with. Plus, I'm tracking through an analog console. All right. And I'm using outboard gear as well in conjunction with the plugins. Okay. So I don't have to use as much plug-in processing because I'm tracking with hardware. All right. I'm tracking with external equipment. So it's giving my sound an edge, period. All right. So as a producer, you have to do those things, even though it's a digital world right now, and even though it took a little longer of a workflow for me to actually, get these files and these sounds, this melody to sound how it does. All right. But once again, just coming out of the hardware synth, it sounds a certain type of a way versus coming from a plug-in. You know what I'm saying? You probably have to layer it or, however, to get the full sound. I believe in making music. I'm old school, so I will take that extra time or, a longer workflow to print these files back in, because that's the only thing. When you're using hardware equipment, you have to print these files, that sound that you're using or whatever hardware synth you're using, whatever outboard gear or rack component that you're using, or outboard analog mixing desk that you're using, you have to consider that you have to print that sound back into the DAW system in order for it to actually, be a part of the session. Other than that, you're just going to be hearing the real-time tracking, and you will have to bounce it all at the same time. That's using too much resources, computer resources, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? When you gotta, basically in real time, all of the processing that you have on each track, from the outboard gear and plugins, all of that is that's too much. So it's better to process each track individually, as you building them. That's how I do my tracks. So for instance, I started with the piano chord. So I'm gonna play the piano chord for you right quick. All right, this is out of the Triton. Okay, that sounds lush to begin with. All right, and full to begin with. All right. Now when I use, something like Nexus, the Omnisphere, they got good sounds. Don't get me wrong, and they got a lot of sounds, and they inspire you. All right. So I started with those keys. This is the piano chord. All right. Out of the Triton. All right. Now what I did, as I found the sound that I wanted, all of the effects in the Triton, I basically bypassed those. So what I did, I ran everything, all of my hardware instruments are going connected to the patch bay, which goes to the console. All right. So I done routed everything, track by track through the console. All right. So now by me having it through the console, I'm able to put EQ, I'm able to put preamp saturation on it, and I'm also able to do my lower, high passive filtering, to roll off at least some of the low frequencies that don't need to be in the tracks. All right. So for instance, if you got a bass heavy song and you got a bunch of low frequencies in your melody, it's going to sound muddy. So basically what I'm saying is I track and process all of these instruments as I'm making them. So I started with the chord. From the chord, I added a low piano from the Integra, which is a rolling synth. All right, another hardware synth. And then I put a pad from the Triton to layer the actual chord, the piano chord. All right. Then back with the Integra, I used a acoustic guitar to give it some type of, more of a musical feel, and just give it a little bit more sauce, if I could say that, if you know what that means. All right. That's all hardware right there. You know what I'm saying? That's just being tracked in. Now, if I would have did it flat, it still would have sound close, but what I did was I processed each of these through my mixing console, whether if I had to add EQ, to boost some frequencies, whether if I had to make some things dark, whether, all of my high passive, low passive filtering, that was done off the analog console. So remember, by going through analog mixer, you're getting some form of summing, which is harmonic distortion. All right. And then you're going through microphone preamps and stuff like that. So now you're getting extra saturation. That's why it sounds like this. Big. You know what I'm saying? So now that's already pre-processed. All right. And then I added this with the VST, the bass line, the synth bass. All right, now, so that's basically our melody. You know what I'm saying? And this is for the hook, the synth, the Juno. I used a string out of the Juno, and I used another I think this is a bell that I used out of the Triton. But anyway, that's our melody. Now, since I've had it in the DAW system and I printed all of these tracks back in the DAW system, I had already did the gain staging. All right. So I already got all of the tracks at a level around at least 18, negative 18 dB. All right. Look at all this headroom I got. Okay. That's just to add more processing on it if I want to. Okay. So now by me creating all of this headroom and doing all of the pre-processing with the analog equipment, I got the sound that I want already, or at least close enough to the sound that I want. Now I can work on brightening it up, or making it more, intensifying the sound a little bit more, making it a little bigger, stand out more. And that's just basically with using plugins now. You know what I'm saying? From channel strips to compression to EQ, whatever that you comfortable with using. You don't have to go out here and buy the most expensive plugins to actually get a good sound. All right. As far as processing, when you're running a hybrid system like I'm running. All right. Or if you're not running a hybrid system, if you know what you're doing as far as the tracking, see how all of these tracks are healthy. This is going into Pro Tools like this. Okay. All of this is going into Pro Tools like this. So I think, where's this peaking at? This is telling you everything. All right, so my synth bass is peaking at negative 14 dB. My low piano is peaking at negative 15.7 dB. My piano chord, negative 11.7 dB. So I can bring that down a little bit, or however I want to do it, but I'm still at a nice level to where I can actually add and enhance this melody a little bit more. You know what I'm saying? All right. And plus, by me running it through the hardware mixing console, it has made it more, it has gave it separation, and it has gave it depth. All right. So it has gave it space. So now you can tell, like a lot of guys be like, man, I can hear every instrument in your beats. That's because I can create separation. When you use summing from an analog system, it creates depth, space, and separation. All right. It makes it sound three-dimensional. All right. They have plugins that will emulate that. And I also use those as well. You know what I'm saying? The extra sauce to give it some more sauce. All right. We're not going to start with the melody today, but I was just letting you know that is, that's how you put your first foot, your best foot forward, with hardware equipment to begin with. If you cannot afford the hardware equipment, then you have to do a little bit more tweaking to your sound and use more plugins or use more effects to kind of get that enhancements or that big professional sound that industry sound that you're looking for. All right. So now, as you can see, I produced this beat in Pro Tools. So that's why I'm actually mixing it in Pro Tools. I mix everything in Pro Tools anyway. So let's play the drums right quick. Okay. Yeah. So that's the drums. All right. Now, we want to be able to add more impact to those drums. All right. So let's turn this 808 off. All right. Now, actually, this little steel drum sounding instrument came from the Triton. All right. And what I did was I layered a bell, like a low bell, and I put it with it was a low bell with a mallet instrument, and I layered them together, put them in two different octaves. All right. And that created almost like a steel drum sound. So yeah, I'm kind of off into sound design a little bit, but that's basically creating your own sound. So when you develop your own sauce, This is the type of stuff that you have to do. You have to take when you want your beats or your instrumentals or your music to really surpass the saturated market and stand out. You have to take all of these things and the littlest things that you can to settle these and make the best out of them. All right. And once again, this sound was created. Dum, 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 dum. That was created. All right. It's a layered sound. All right. Now, so here what we're going to do is let's get ready to process these drums. So the first thing that I like to do is start with the kick and snare. All right. So let's move our edit window out the way right quick. Let's hear these drums again. These drums sound pretty good. The reason why these drums sound pretty good to begin with is because, once again, you guessed it, I pre-processed them. So I always hit whatever I'm doing with a little bit of something before I start the real processing or the real, enhancements and mixing. All right. So now my drums, by these being programmed drums, I like to use a program called Battery. That's what this is. This comes with the complete bundle. All right. From Native Instruments. All right. I actually created a drum kit for this. All right. And this is the kit that you're looking at. And this basically, samples that I done gathered over the years that really sound good to me, that has created my sound. And, as far as my drums, my program drums, when I'm doing hip hop, R&B, or whatever. What I like about this particular plugin is that you can add processing to everything. So like this drum, I was able to get the best out of this drum kick, this kick drum, simply because I got processing on each thing. So now I can add filters, I can add compression, I can change the envelope of it, the pitch envelope. I could, effects with EQ, I can boost, which is what I did. All right. I went through each of these sounds. Okay. And I added my own sauce from compression, EQ, filtering, you name it, from right here. All on board, all in one plug-in. They always tell you the least processing is the best process. The least processed track is the best process. I mean, the best one. So it's always better when you use less. All right. So if you can take one plug-in and basically get everything that you get closest to the sound that you're looking for with one plug-in, that's your best bet. And as you can see that I'm changing as I keep going to different drums or samples, you can see the dial is changing from the compressor and from the high passive cuts. And then you can also change how your sample is being, looked at, or how, what format is coming, vintage or standard, it makes it loud or give it a little bit more grit or give it some like analog type of feel, This is all just with this one drum machine. All right. Okay. So even if you was to sit here and like, okay, I like the way that kick sound. Okay. He got 28% compression. He wrote it off at 59%. 59 hertz on the bottom, with a high passive filter. He got it on standard. That doesn't mean that this particular setting is going to work for this kick or this kick or this kick. You see what I'm saying? You see how it's changing? So never get off into presets or, trying to copy somebody else's settings. If anything, try to take it to the next level. All right. As far as this go, You know what I'm saying? Every individual track is going to have to be processed differently. All right. So now, once again, as I play these drums, all right, and let me move this out the way right quick. And look at our drums. Our drum tracks sound decent. Okay? I don't have any other compression on. I'm not even gluing them together. That's just straight from battery. All right? So, once again, it's sounding how I want it to sound already, just off pre-processing the track, preparing the tracks to actually be mixed, glued together, to sound cohesive, and to be mastered. All right. You know, now by this being a beat, I'm not going to go overboard with it by it being an instrumental, but I am going to get it close enough as I want it to commercial sound. That way I can actually compete with other producers that's putting out hot music, or have it already decent enough to where if an artist want to record to it, it's not so much that I have to do to it. You know, if I'm recording it or somebody else recording, all they have to do is minor things to actually make minor adjustments, you know, and do subtle things to actually glue the track together and make everything come together to make a song. That's basically it. All right. So by me doing that, that has cut so much time into my mixing. All right. So now I'm going to play the whole song right now. Well, not the entire song, but I'm going to play a little bit of the song where you can kind of see where I'm going with it. Once again, no processing. All right, so now